Okay, recording this video after close trade Thursday, 28th of January 2016. I hope you had a great day's trading today. So, this is the video I kind of would have wanted to get out yesterday, but I lost my internet connection here in Sydney. Quite a lot of Sydney was affected yesterday. I do have a backup internet connection, but it's not as fast, and so I didn't want to be loading up large video files on it. Luckily, the internet, my primary internet connection, came back up ready for trading in the evening for me, so that was kind of all good. The reason for doing this video is today, Thursday, was supposed to be the big kind of test day, and I don't think we've got real conclusive evidence that we've finished on the downside, and now the uptrend can begin. So I'm just going to show you what I'm seeing on my charts. Just to recap, I've been saying again and again and again, we got these pullback to end of trends have to ripple through all the time frames. So the 45-minute chart, we had this left shoulder marked by pullback to end of trend quite a few days ago now. Next time frame up, 81-minute chart. After FOMC activity, we had the pullback to end of trend signal kind of go off here, kind of marking like a right shoulder, which is kind of nice. Now the next time frame up is the 135-minute chart, and this is what I was looking for with Thursday's activity, for the nice little pullback to end of trend sequence to go off here. I did put out a Google Plus post for people who kind of follow me there, just saying that was what I was looking for, and it would be a testing day on Thursday. But to be honest, it's really not kind of conclusive that the bottom is in at this point. We've got a little bit of time to run before these kind of cross and we get that end of trend, nice end of trend kind of signal go off. Let me show you, there's two reasons why I'm not convinced that we're kind of done here on this right shoulder, where we can kind of ready to move into the next uptrend and go have a look at the December highs. There's two reasons. The first one is this. This is the 4500 tip bar chart with today's activity here. We had quite a lot of strength into the open with exhaustion by bearish divergence. I think we had a bunch of, well, there was some tech earnings announcements and some fundamental news kind of come out, but these are all blue professional up bars into an exhaustion by bearish divergence. They were taking profits up here and we sold off. Now, with the activity since, what I'd expect on a proper kind of good testing day is that we would go have a look at the lows and get exhaustion sell on the downside, put in a whole bunch of blue professional bars on the lows, have some nice flush patterns when we test it again, some maybe Rambo patterns showing that the Rambo patterns on the downside are the amateurs are thinking the thing's going to continue down and so on. And we didn't get that. We kind of almost got the reverse. Look at all these Rambo patterns here at the highs up at 1890s kind of going on here. The amateurs are ready to get this thing going to the upside, thinking 1890, then 1900 is going to get busted to the upside, and we can get this thing going. It's almost the reverse of what I'd like to see. We had blue professional bars kind of mid-morning, mid-afternoon, midday, taking profits up here. The amateurs trying to get into this move, and then we're starting to break down supports at the end of the day. I would really want to see almost the reverse, so exhaustion sells and flush patterns and Rambo patterns at the bottom rather than this. The other thing that's kind of not right and kind of getting me worried is I talk about straight lines on better momentum. Remember, better momentum is measuring emotion, and emotions don't run in straight lines. We've got a little bit of a straight line kind of going on here. If you like, from this exhaustion sell to this bullish divergence and bullish patterns here, you got another straight line and we break to the downside. That's showing how emotions run. We don't just get a nice straight line kind of continuous bullish divergence patterns here. We'll then have some kind of crack back down through that kind of rising trend line on momentum and put in a flush pattern or something like that. So those are the two things that have got me a little bit concerned that we've not done enough testing on the downside. We've got a little bit of time to run before that pullback to end of trend kind of goes off, and I'd like to see some blue professional down bars, a flush pattern or something like that before that bottom is in. So for me, I'm looking at two numbers. This could be enough. We could break back above this resistance level on the pullback and then kind of get going, and then as soon as it starts to rally hard, everybody needs to jump on board and just say, okay, it's done to the downside, we're cracking through to the recent highs, and will cause a continuation. People will just need to jump on board an uptrend if they kind of manufacture that breakaway. But equally so, if we start breaking down through towards today's lows, Thursday's lows on Friday, if it's pre-open or I think pretty quiet kind of during the Asian session so far. But if it kind of gets going on the downside, then we're going to have a look at this number kind of down here at whatever that was, kind of 1804, that kind of area. So it could be quite nice for that kind of move. Either way we go, for me, we're fairly compressed in terms of range in that breakout. On the upside, 1893, kind of getting above that would kind of trigger a move to 1900 and potentially away to the upside. And then 1873, kind of close to the lows of today, for a break to the downside to put in those flush patterns and go have a look at this low being put in. So that's what I'm looking at on my charts. If you look at it on the highest time frame tip bar charts, let me just show you this. This is based on the 4500 tip bar chart using the multiple time frames stuff just over the last few days. Now the last time I showed you this was a couple of days, was before the FOMC day, and I was saying, yeah, we got all these pullback to end of trend patterns and resistance kind of going off here, but these are pointing the wrong way. You know, exhaustion sells here. I'd like to see those on the upside above price, showing that we'd exhausted bought, and bearish divergence and flush patterns before we roll over. Well, yeah, we then got this kind of crackdown, and all of a sudden the exhaustion sell, the bullish divergence kind of comes in, and we have this race to the race away to the upside. Now we've got the reverse kind of going on. So this is what we've got. Now we've got same thing, resistance, resistance, resistance on all these high time frames, exhaustion buy, bearish divergence, flush, flush, flush. That's showing that we've run out of steam. We can't kind of poke through here. A little bit of strength during the afternoon's trade, but now we're starting to break down through a support level here. You know, we're coming back up during the Asian session, but you know, any weakness here breaking down through that, you know, 75, 73 type level here would take us into that kind of rollover pattern. So for me, it's not convincing that we've kind of tested into those lows and that we're pullback to end of trend on the 135-minute chart is kind of confirmed. There's not quite enough there to say that's in. So potentially on Friday we're going to go do that. Now today's activity was jumpy in the first 20 minutes of the day. I got myself stopped out twice with a short trade first of all and then a long trade. There were poor entries because I was chasing price on breakouts and they didn't kind of work out, and quickly found that out with being stopped out. That hurts, not nice at all, but did get a really nice trade here going short into this move. So this is the open of the day, happened around here. We'd had exhaustion buy, bearish divergence, end of trends kind of go off here into these highs, and we start to have some weakness. This exhaustion sell is getting the move going, but then we tested back through here. This is where I was thinking, well, we might break back up to put in an exhaustion pattern during the full liquidity of the day, and no, it didn't happen. I got stopped out on that second trade going along at that point, and then we broke in. I got on board this little break here at that support level, breaks 2 time frames at the same time, bang, nice move on the downside. So stretched my target out to 8 to recoup those 2 stop out trades, and that was me done for the day. But I was out at 82.75, and this thing ran to the 60s. So there was a hell of a lot more in it. Pullback to end of trends on the intermediate time frame, you know, exhaustion, flush, flush, flush before this is all over, and then it kind of has a little bit of a race away move. And it wasn't until the afternoon session where things are kind of confirmed. This was a really nice move. As soon as we got everything coming together, support on the highest time frame, we're breaking above resistances on the other time frames. That was another nice kind of trending move on the upside here, running into exhaustion by bearish divergence and end of trend patterns and so on up at the highs here. So yeah, it was satisfactory to make back 2 stops, which is kind of good, but I just didn't have it in me. I was just happy to be out instead of, you know, holding all the way down for here. That would have been too much for me. Anyway, I hope you traded it well, and yeah, let's look at Friday's trade. The 2 numbers, 93 and 73. Let's see where we go. You know, if we get kind of moves in either way, it should generate a little bit of decent trendy activity, I think. Oh, and just a last point. You know, I'm still bullish on the dollar index. I think we'll crack through 100 on the dollar index, but we have run really hard on the other currencies, particularly things like the Canadian dollar, the Aussie dollar, the British pound. We've kind of reached some exhaustion patterns on those currencies on the way down. We're having a bounce back up. This is the bit I hate. Having put in a little bit of a left shoulder, it's kind of an exhaustion sell. We're having this push back up. It could trigger some kind of short covering rallies and so on those currencies, and I hate it, but I don't think we're done on the downside on those currencies, particularly the Aussie. We've not seen exhaustion sell on the Aussie, so I'm still negative on the Aussie and the pound and the Canadian dollar and so on. But at the moment it's kind of hard work on those because they're bouncing back, having had exhaustion sells. Anyway, I'll tag on that third trade for me here into this move, because that was kind of a nice one, and hope you traded it well today. Okay, just got short 90.75, short 90.75, checking stops and targets. Let's just leave that where they are for the time being. Jumping a little bit early because this is still showing some strength on the trending system. But the reason for going short is these spiky blue professional bars in 94 end up being one on 1500, and then they sold it way down. It's almost like getting the move going. You can see the exhaustion sell, the power of the selling down there. Need this to break that support. Going to continue down and finish up this pattern with resistance coming out on the 4500. So oops, a little early here, but there it is. It's almost like a U-turn there. Bang. Okay, blue professional bars, little cluster going on there. Let's break support, and that'll show that we're actually selling with this exhaustion sell, getting the thing going. Alright, initial target just got hit. I've never target out to 82.75s, and it's triple potentially. Support, right down here, and support. So there we go, support, all being broken at the same time. Now we've got a double break, so not many little low risk entry points to kind of get in at. They're just breaking down. No blue professional bars anywhere to be seen on the way down. Okay, that one just happened on the retrace, so got a little bit of bullish divergence there happening on the retrace, both of these. And it's just flipped over. Not sure it's, yeah, flipped over here on those. So, alright, triple bottoms do not exist. We have same price point hit. And we just ramped off these blue professional bars, but now we're coming through. We're going exhaustion sell. There we go. Printed down there. And all this thing is wrapping around, pull back end of trend eventually. None of those have gone off yet, so 82.75, come on, yeah, there we go. Now let's get this into a waterfall type move. That's a little Rambo then. Bingo, just taken out 82.75, excellent for 8. But that only takes me to break even because I got stopped out twice, going short first thing and then long. Bad entries on those two trades. That's why I got taken out. And this thing's going further, but when you have a bad day like that, coming out break even is feels like an accomplishment at least. Anyway, so we're just bouncing off a Rambo pattern here at 82s, and that's what we're playing. Bingo. So it's got to go pull back under trend on, well, at least the 500, probably 15 as well. And yeah, the Rambo on 1500, that's why we're bouncing. And the question is this, what we're going to do. So on the 135 minute chart. Anyway, I'm done. It's 2:09 AM Sydney time.